Happy New Year! Welcome to the Pretty Little Lifters podcast. I am so excited to be launching this podcast this year. This is the first episode, and I'm so excited to have another outlet to connect with you and to be able to expand on some of the topics that I've been sharing on my social media platforms on all things fitness, health, wellness, and more. If you're new to the Pretty Little Lifters community, hi, hello, hola. My name is Tiffany Ragazzino, and I'm a middle and high school PE and health teacher, as well as a certified fitness trainer here in Los Angeles, California. The PLL brand was launched back in 2014 to inspire girls and women to lift barbells and strength train, and it's been an evolution. It's continued to evolve since then, now incorporating teaching the things we wish we learned in PE and health class, while ditching diet culture in the process. So it's kind of merged my world of teaching and all things fitness all together, which has been super fun. I'll definitely have an upcoming episode where I dive more into my story and how PLL started, but we'll save that for another day. Well, since it's January and a fresh start, I want this first episode to focus on setting the tone for your year with the word of the year. It's something I've been doing for over 5 years now, and it has personally helped me more than a New Year's resolution has. And I'm not knocking New Year's resolutions. If that works for you, do you. But I have found that this method has allowed me to grow so much during the year compared to years prior when I try to make all these resolutions or even a couple. If you don't know what a word of the year is, don't worry, I got you. I'm going to break it down for you, and I'm going to share some steps on how to choose your own, how to hold yourself accountable throughout the year. I liked this yearly activity so much that I started doing it with my students too, and it's actually been a lot of fun. So if you want to do this for yourself, with your friends, family, or students, share these ideas and steps. All right, let's get into it. So step one is going to be, what is a word of the year? Let me break it down for you. I have created this lesson plan for my students as well. So I have these slides. I'm going to go through them with you. So it'll be nice step-by-steps, easy for you to put into action. What is a word of the year? You choose one word to set your intention for the new year. It becomes your theme of the year. It's going to help you focus on how you want your year to flow. It's going to help you focus on creating a positive change in your life. Your word can help guide your decisions and make choices to move towards what you want for you, for your future, how you want to feel. One of the things I like is a word of the year is less rigid than a resolution, and it's easier to focus on it throughout the year, which is amazing. When I think of a resolution, I think of, somebody making a healthy habit, or like, I will do more of this, or I don't want to do this anymore. And that's going to come with like a lot of other steps. The beauty about the word of the year is, like I said, it's kind of like this theme of your year. So, for example, last year, my word of the year was align, and I just kept that word with me all the time. So every day I would just ask myself like questions like, this thing that I was about to do, does this align with what future Tiffany wants tomorrow? Does this align with my career goals? Does this align with my values? So it was just like an easy, quick check-in. I found it more valuable than like making something super rigid and just, it's just so much easier to just check in with yourself with this word. And it kind of just like weaves into every aspect of your life, which is super cool. Like I found myself constantly thinking about the word align, and all my choices throughout the day, just like really checking in with myself, like, does this align? That's kind of the basis of like what a word of the year is. Now we're going to move on to step 2, how to choose a word of the year. Let's brainstorm. If you need to grab a journal or a piece of paper, grab it right now. Let's do this together. If not, and you're just like, I just want to think about this, I'm on my walk, we're listening, do you. Let's brainstorm about this. On a piece of paper, you're going to make 2 columns. One column is going to say what I want more of in my life. Okay? You're going to start listing ideas. The second column is going to say what I want less of in my life. And you're going to list your ideas. So let's talk about some examples of this. What I want more of in my life. Maybe you want more peace and calm. Maybe you want more social activities. Maybe you want more community. Maybe you want more focus. Maybe you want more healthy habits. Whatever it is, just start listing anything and everything that comes to mind. On that second column that we talked about, that's where you're going to have your ideas of what you want less of. Maybe you want less screen time. Maybe you want less indecisiveness. Maybe you want less work. You might want less drama in your life this year. Whatever it is, write down anything and everything that comes to mind. After you do that, you're going to take a look at those two lists, the list of what I want more of in my life, what I want less of in my life. And then you're going to determine a common theme of your list. Look at both sides and see what kind of things are coming up. It may be something that's like not so obvious. So if you need to like take a moment, come back to it, but just like start looking, like you might start to notice like, hey, I'm noticing, for example, I used my word from last year was align. I was noticing that the thing that I wanted more of and less of was, hey, things are like not matching up in my life. I'm doing this, but it doesn't align with this. I'm doing this, but I want more of this. And they were like opposites. So that's how the word alignment came up for me. I was like, wow, like I need to spend more time making sure my actions align with my words. This matches with this. And looking over your list, find that common theme. The next thing you might want to do is list some words that could work. It might not just be one. So you might start to pick out words like social, community, alignment, play, like whatever these like overall themes for like the things you wrote down. Start to pull those words out, look them over and see which one calls to you the most and like motivates you the most. You do not need to overthink this. I know it can be like, oh my gosh, I have to find the perfect word. Please don't overthink this. Make it fun. Like I said, if you need to do a couple of these steps at a time and like come back to it at a different time, do so. I also want to point out when you are doing this activity, do not do it during a time when you are rushed, when you are stressed. Like make time for it. Think about lighting a candle, setting some mood light, putting on some chill music, like make it a whole experience. And I think it just makes it that much more fun. So yes, don't overthink the words, start pulling the words out. And then what I recommend you do is you're gonna narrow your list down to like 2 to 3 words and decide which one calls to you the most. I've had some people ask me like, oh, does it just have to be 1 word? Can it be 2 words? Can it be 3 words? This is your word of the year. If you want it to be 3, do 3. And sometimes those words can be kind of connected and they will all complement each other. Absolutely do that if you'd like to. For me personally, I like to focus on 1 word because I feel like it just keeps me really focused and my word from last year, aligned in my goals. So narrow that list down to 2 to 3 words and decide which one calls to you the most. If you are feeling a little stuck, I'm going to just start reading some random words for you. Maybe you need a little inspiration. So I'm going to list a couple words for you right now. You can also do a Google search for word of the year and you'll see lists of so many different words. I mean, if you really want to, you can browse a dictionary or a thesaurus if there's like, oh, this isn't the right word, but this is what I'm kind of thinking, and maybe you'll find that perfect word. But let's talk about a couple words. And like I said, I'm just going to name some. Maybe some will spark something in you and you're like, oh, that reminds me of this, or I didn't even think about it. I was thinking of this word. So here are some words: focus, grow, organize, simplify, bloom, brave, inspire, thrive, gratitude, consistency, balance, be, worth, elevate, today, less, mindful, considerate, calm, positivity, respect, appreciate, enlighten, intentional, flow, family, slow, pause, increase, trust, play, kindness, gratitude, fearless, expansion, grounded, harmony. There are so many amazing, like beautiful words for you to choose as your word of the year. I include a list in the lesson plan that I will have on Teachers Pay Teachers, and I share this list with my students too, because sometimes they do get a little stuck in like, oh, I don't know what word to choose. So sometimes even seeing a list of other words can help trigger another word in you that you're like, oh, I didn't think about this. This reminds me of this. So hopefully some of those inspiration words helped. And like I said, if you're like, I'm still a little stuck, Google it, find a little list out there, come back to it. You'll be surprised at like what ends up sparking for you. Step 3, we're going to choose our word. We've done our brainstorm. Now it's time to decide on our 1 to 3 words that you want to do. And this is the word that you're going to incorporate into your life this year. So, be intentional about it and really be excited about it. So for this year, my word of the year is experiment. I'm really excited about this word, especially as someone who wants things done a certain way, loves control, wants things perfect. My intention behind this word is to give myself permission to just try things. They don't have to be perfect. I'm just treating it like a science experiment. I'm collecting data. We're going to see what happens. My word of the year is experiment. I wrote this down in my journal. So I literally write out my word of the year is experiment. And then I list some things underneath that. And what I do in my journal is I write down like what that looks like. Experimenting with trying new activities, experimenting with using my voice in different ways, experimenting and showing up in different ways. Like me starting this podcast. This is an experiment. I have no idea how it'll go, but I'm here, I'm showing up, gonna collect some data, we'll see what happens. And it just helps me take some of the pressure off myself of like making things perfect or like not starting something because I don't want to fail. So for me, that's the kind of stuff I'm writing in my journal. Like, what does that word, like how will that show up in my day-to-day? What do I want it to look like? So write some of those things down. One year, my word of the year was power. And some of the examples that I included, and I shared this with my students, I said, okay, my word of the year is power, and how do I want to use that? I want to have power in using my voice, choosing my thoughts and actions, being me, saying no to things that don't align, being present, feeling strong mentally and physically. So that is what my slide looked like. I also made a cute little Canva slide with this, and I had it on my desktop. So that was something else that you can do as well. Step 4, staying connected to your word. Your goal is to be able to stay connected to this word the whole year. So here are some ideas, some tips of how you can do that. One thing I love to do, obviously I'm going to write it in my journal. So that's something for me that works. I'm going to write it in my journal, and it's something that I will come back to and look at when I'm doing like my morning routine, morning reflection. Another thing that I do is I make it my phone wallpaper. This is something I've been doing every year. I mean, how many times do we look at our phone? We look at our phone every day, whether to see the time, to go on an app, to do whatever. So I know that my phone is probably the best place for me to put something like this. So you can go onto any program. I'm just a Canva stan. So I go into Canva, make a cute wallpaper, put my word of the year there, and I love it. So I have it on my phone right now. And something that I do, you don't have to do this, I just like doing this, is if you've done a word of the year in the past, in the bottom of my wallpaper, I like to put those words there. It is just a reminder of my growth and all the other words that I have chosen. It just makes me not forget about all that other work and healing and progress and evolving that I've done. So I love it. So I put, for example, my phone wallpaper for this year, it has the word experiment in the middle, and then on the bottom I have listed all the other words that I've chosen. So it's just like a nice refresher, a nice reminder. Another thing you may want to do is write your word of the year on a post-it and put it on your mirror, someplace where you're going to see it. So I have like a little vanity area, where I get ready every morning, and that's somewhere I can just put a post-it, decorate it really cute, and just put the word there. I will see it every day when I'm getting ready. Another thing that you can do is make it your computer desktop background. This year I opted to make a digital vision board, and in the middle of my vision board, I put the word experiment. I didn't include a lot of other words. I know some people's vision boards are more like visual, some like a lot of words sprinkled in. I prefer just pictures with like one or two focus words. So I have my word, experiment, right in the middle. It is on my desktop. of my home, like my personal laptop. And then when I go to work, I'm going to also put it on my work laptop so it's just consistent and I see it there. Another thing that you can do that I think is really fun is create a music playlist and title it your word of the year and add songs that fit that vibe. I have Apple Music, and so I'm constantly making different playlists. So I'll make a new one that'll be experiment and just like add songs that like fill that vibe for me. And you can edit the name of your playlist and you know call it experiment. And then you can also change the photo if you didn't know that. At least if you have Apple Music, put a photo that kind of matches that vibe for you as well, and just listen to it randomly when you're working, when you're doing this, when you need some inspo. It's just a fast, easy way to just get some quick inspiration by listening to a music choice that you intentionally put together for your word of the year. Another thing that you can do is also write it in your journal and reflect on it often. I mentioned that that's something that I do. You can put your, if you're a morning journaler or an evening journaler, put your word of the year someplace on there every time. And the last thing that you can do is make a vision board and put it on there, which is what I had mentioned I did. I created a digital vision board. I know some people like to physically make one, so you can do that too. Put it in the middle somewhere on your vision board so you can see it. Step 5 for your word of the year is holding yourself accountable. This isn't something where it's like, okay, I'm going to pick a word and then never think about it again. So that's why we kind of have those steps about staying connected to your word. And I shared those different activities that you can do. But holding yourself accountable. One way that I have found personally that it helps me is I like to share my word with people. I talk about it on social media. I share it with my friends. I share it with my students so that people know my word of the year. I want you to think of 4 humans that you can share your word of the year with. Maybe it's a parent, maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a partner, whoever it is. Somebody that can hold you accountable, that will support you. Maybe they can be encouraged to pick a word of the year too. Maybe they do choose a word of the year and you can hold each other accountable. So that's something to think about. Think of 4 people right now who you could share your word of the year with that will support you and also help hold you accountable. And like I said, even posting it to your social media, if you are somebody who engages on social media, and just putting it out there in the world for people to know that you are doing this can be a great form of accountability. If you are a teacher and this is an activity that you want to do with your students, after you have your students choose a word of the year, another great way to have some accountability is to have them share their word, if they're open to it, with the class, but then also creating some type of board in the classroom where maybe each kid gets an index card and they decorate it with their word, and you just kind of create a little collage of all these words. You can also go online and make some type of like word art. They have free websites where you can just input all of your students' words and it can come out like a little shape or like a little word tree. So that's something to think about as well. But that's a great way to incorporate it into the classroom, hold everyone accountable, because if you're just having people choose a word and then you never talk about it again, it's just more likely, kind of like the whole resolution thing, it just kind of falls to the side, nobody remembers about it. But if this is something that like you're doing a weekly check-in, like how is everyone's word of the year going? I think that is just the best way for everyone, whether you're a teacher or you're not, to kind of check in and hold yourself accountable. And those are the steps you can take to choose your word of the year. I would love to know if you choose a word of the year. Head over to my Instagram at the Pretty Little Lifters and message me. It's fun and inspiring to hear other people's words, and sharing it helps us hold each other accountable. My friend and I were talking the other day and she told me her word was play, and I shared that mine was experiment. And now we reference our words to each other. So for example, like she told me the other day, oh, I'm going to a birthday event, and I said, have fun playing. And it's nice to be able to show support in that way. So that's why I was saying, like, the more vocal we can be about this and like support each other and hold each other accountable, it's just a nice way to keep that theme of your year going, because you're talking about it often, you're living in it. Have fun choosing your word of the year. This shouldn't be stressful. Keep it light. Take some time to get quiet and reflective. Dim the lights. Light a candle. Put on some chill music. Grab a journal and enjoy the process. If you are a teacher and you want to have this exact activity already made for you as a lesson for your students, I got you. head over to Teachers Pay Teachers website, search the Pretty Little Lifters page, and I'll have this lesson available for purchase. I'll also link it in the podcast show notes. You can just scroll down on this podcast episode page and you'll see it there. Thanks for joining me for our first podcast episode. I really appreciate the support of the PLL community and I'm so grateful. Thanks for being a part of my journey, and I'm excited to be a part of yours in any way I can. Keep an eye out for more episodes coming your way, and to make sure that you're subscribed to this podcast and follow me on Instagram and TikTok at The Pretty Little Lifters so we can stay connected. I also have an email list that won't be spammy, I promise, and you can sign up for it at theprettylittlelifters.com. Happy New Year! And that wraps up this week's episode, team. Thanks to all you Pretty Little Lifters for being a part of this conversation. Want to hear more of these convos? Subscribe to the podcast and leave a rate and review if this resonated with you. If you want to talk more about this topic, follow me on Instagram at The Pretty Little Lifters. And in case nobody told you this week, you are a strong, confident, gorgeous goddess, and you got this.